Are live.
Welcome to the Wartime MMA podcast, UFC Winnipeg edition, which is like a city they haven't gone to in a while or ever really in Canada. It's usually Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. So I guess it's cool to have one in Winnipeg, although it's pretty fucking dog shit. I'll be honest. It's nothing like the Australian fans are getting in Perth. But without further ado, let's get into this mid. First fight of the card is Jamie Siraj versus John Giannis. Mike, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'll start it off. I'm probably gonna go with. I'm probably gonna go with Jamie Siraj. I didn't really do much uh, research on these. I'm just going off by. I'm just going off by some of the Canadians. I think he'll get the job done. I've seen John Giannis fight before. He's terrible. He's very terrible. He got used like a personal blow up doll against Austin Bashi in his last fight, I think it was. So I think he will get cooked again, especially in Jamie Siraj's hometown. I'm gonna go with the Gremlin by. I'll go second round finish by the Gremlin Jamie Siraj, and yes, that is his nickname. I'm not insulting him.
The Super Gremlin. But yeah, I have to agree. I'm going to go with Jamie Siraj. I looked at a little bit of their tape prior to this fight because I really didn't know much about either of them outside of Austin Bashi beating John Giannis. John Giannis's highlights in the regionals are actually pretty fun to watch. He's pretty scrappy. He's got a lot of brutal KOs in the fights he does have KOs, but they're against bums mostly. I do think guys like Austin Bashi are far above that level. And Jamie Siraj, I'm not really too high on either. I feel like they just wanted to stack this card with some Canadians, and most of them are going to be mid, especially the men ones. But I think Jamie Siraj getting knocked out by Diego Brandao is not a good look. But at the same time, Diego Brandao is somewhat dangerous on the feet. Still, he's on a pretty decent win streak in I forgot what promotion. Is it LFA or I'm not sure, but whatever promotion. Not the best loss, but I don't think John Giannis is that great either. There is a world where I feel like John Giannis can maybe, put the pressure on him and KO him, but it seems like Jamie Siraj is the more disciplined, more well-rounded MMA fighter. He's got good grappling, he's got decent boxing, he goes to the body. I'm going to trust Jamie Siraj having the better record and being the bigger prospect out of the two to win. I'm going to say by submission at some point. I'm going to say second round. Most of Tapology is picking him to win by sub, so I'll follow that. Second round sub for Jamie Siraj. Second round, rear naked.
Opening fights of Winnipeg. I'll be honest, I'm not really familiar with either fighter. I'm almost positive that these are both debutantes making their first UFC appearance in their respective careers. John Giannis, 9-4, 31 years old, 5'7", 70.5-inch reach, fighting out of Texas, going up against what looks to be the Gremlin, Jamie Siraj, 14-3, 31 years old, 5'8". His reach not listed. Says he trains at TriStar Gym. Like I said, not really too familiar on either fighter. It's their debuts. We're in Canada. I'm just going to start off the card with a Canadian. Not too much thought process into this one. I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I will go Jamie Siraj, the Gremlin, as well. Both of them do have a UFC caliber loss, if it matters for any worth. A couple years ago not even years ago, a year ago in 2025, Diego Brandao spinning heel kick KO'd Jamie Siraj in the first round on Tough Enough. That was the regional promotion that fight took place in. As for Giannis, he lost to Cameron Smotherman. So both have a UFC caliber loss, but I'm going to go Jamie Siraj here. I think it'll be a competitive fight. From what Alex told me, Giannis's highlights are exciting, so he seems to be in firefights. A finish could definitely happen, but I think both guys in their debut, they're both going to want to show up. They don't want to look weak or anything along those lines. So I'm going to go with a Jamie Siraj decision win, where he's just kind of able to show that he's the more well-rounded fighter. And him being in Canada, I think it's a big deal in a decision-based scenario. Let me see if he's a more prolific finisher. He's got 4 KOs, 7 subs, 3 decisions. So I could see as to why Alex would go with the sub as a potential finish here against John Giannis. Giannis has been subbed twice and has lost 2 decisions, and he's never been knocked out. So he seems tough. So I feel like it's sub or decision. He got rear naked choked by Austin Bashi, and he got rear naked choked by a fighter who's 7-2, Brazilian. I could see the Gremlin having a sub here, but I'm gonna go decision. I'm gonna go decision for, don't want to butcher his name again, Jamie Siraj. I'll go decision. I think he'll mix in grappling if he needs to.
Alrighty. Moving on. We got John Castaneda taking on Mark Vologden. I'm gonna go with Mark Vologden. I just think John Castaneda's shit. Yeah, I honestly ain't really got much to say. John Castaneda is gonna get FUD rugged probably. I'm gonna go with a. I'll go with a. Let me see. Let me see his loss streak. I'll go with a decision. I'll go with the decision for Mark Vologden. I think he'll just dominate him, but he could finish. He could finish him actually. He's only been to 5 decisions and he's lost most of them. So, you know what? I'll go with the KO. I'll go with the second round KO for Mark Vologden. I'll switch it up here because his stats are very low on decisions, and when he does go on a decision, most of the times he would lose. So that could favor Castaneda here, but I'm going with Vologden to be the better fighter. John Castaneda's just shit.
This is a tough fight. Vologden's very short for the division. Watching him on the Contender Series, he's got a pretty good understanding of boxing. He's got decent kicks as well as a good ground game. The biggest thing that worries me for him is his size. He's 5'3" at bantamweight, which is like smaller than Joshua Van, I even think. Very small guy. But I feel like when you are that size, it makes it somewhat unorthodox and like weird for your opponent to fight somebody that small. He's able to get into the pocket. He's able to fight at a decent range for being such a short guy too. He's got good kicks, like I said. This fight on the Contender Series is probably the best Contender Series fight of all time. That shit was a war. And if you rewatch that, he's landing the bigger shots. He's getting the knockdowns. It's just the volume and the visible damage for Martinetti that got him the win, and just like the output and the pace he put on Vologden. Castaneda's not going to put that pace on him. He's going to want to be pretty at the outside, use his footworks, kick a lot, and try to jab at range. If he was more elusive, I would say, he'd probably beat Mark Vologden. But I think Castaneda, you've had too many moments of trying to get on a win streak, and I just don't really remember him ever getting on a win streak. He'll beat like a bum, and then he'll lose to like a slightly better bum. I feel like he's better than your Miles Johnses and your Muin Gafrovs. Like he is beaten, but he's worse than your ranked competition and your guys even below that. Like I think like Daniel Santos, Daniel Marcos, Chris Gutierrez. I had to look him up, I forgot, but yeah, like I think he's very mid-tier, and I think Vologden might have a chance to be a little bit better than that. I think he gets a little sloppy on the pocket, Castaneda. Vologden, if anything, has proved he's got a good chin. If he was content to just sit on the back foot the whole time and eat body kicks and leg kicks, I'd pick him to lose this fight. But I see Vologden as somebody who likes to get in people's faces and go for KOs. And I think against a guy like Castaneda, he's really going to have the finishing and the damage side in his ability. Or his, like, that is going to be on his side. And I got to call IQ issues if you're choosing Pat Barry to be your head coach. So that's always going to work against you if you're Castaneda. I'm going to go Vologden by KO too. I like that pick. He goes for the finish. I'm going to say he catches him going for a body kick and hits him with a hook in the second round and KOs him. Might even be a club and sub. He's had some nasty subs on the regionals as well. But I'm going to say KO in this debut against Castaneda.
Second fight of the night here in the bantamweight division, UFC debut of Mark Vologden, 12-4-1. Not the biggest guy in the weight class, obviously, 5'3" with 65-inch reach, 25 years old. 25 years old and having 17 pro fights, you know, whether he has a good record or not, that's still a lot of experience at such a young age. Going up against 21-8 John Castaneda. I would venture to say at a UFC level, we just seen more of John Castaneda. Obviously, Vologdan's making his debut. You look at his losses, at least in the UFC, it's Nathaniel Wood, it's Daniel Santos, Daniel Marcos, Chris Gutierrez, all solid fighters. So his losses aren't bad. His wins, though, I mean, Eddie Wineland, Miles Johns, I do like that win. Muin Gafurov, it's all right. Kyung Heo Kang, for what it's worth. I feel like in this fight, volume, youth, durability would be in favor of Vologdan. Castaneda has been knocked out twice, and he has lost 6 decisions. I think the volume, the output, the youth, the pressure will be Vologdan. I expect him in his UFC debut. It is a crowded event. Could there be jitters? Perhaps. But coming off a war in his last fight, I feel like that was like his little welcome to the U. It sounds weird. Like, even though he lost the Contender Series, they signed him. I feel like in a weird way, that was kind of like his welcome to the UFC moment. He fought against a high-level fighter who's very durable, who I would pick to beat John Castaneda in Martinetti. But enough of my yapping. I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I'm going to go Mark Vologdan in his debut as well. I do understand that Castaneda probably has the grappling advantage in this one, being the bigger fighter, having more submission wins as well. I just feel like Vologdan's going to go for it more. I like his durability more. And I feel like, yeah, just like if Castaneda's not getting the grappling going, I reckon the output and the pressure of Vologdan's going to outweigh it. So, second round TKO, and I don't think that's a coincidence. That's my dog barking. I think we have a debut upset here. I'm going to go Vologdan, second round TKO.
Alrighty, moving on. We got Mitch Raposo still in the fucking UFC, taking on Alan Nascimento. I'm gonna go with Alan Nascimento here. I think Mitch Raposo is just dog water, very dog water. I'm gonna go with a decision win, I think, for Alan Nascimento. I just can't ever see myself picking Mitch Raposo. I get he's the younger fighter and stuff, but like, bro is he's just trash, man. I don't think Mitch Raposo is good. I don't even think he belongs in the UFC. I think they're just keeping him here because flyweights just doesn't really have that many contenders, so might as well bring him in and throw him to the wolves. Although Alan Nascimento's not really good either, but he's better. He should be better than a Mitch Raposo, in my opinion. I'll go with an Alan Nascimento by decision.
Yeah, I follow Mike on this one as well. I think Alan Nascimento is the better fighter. Coming off an Azat Moxham win, Mitch Raposo is pretty impressive. Azat Moxham, arguably, in my opinion, should have beat Tagir. But Tagir, it's kind of shit, you know. Nobody really thinks Tagir is like this Dagestani prospect anymore. I could see Mitch Raposo doing pretty well in this fight, maybe winning. I think there's a small chance, but I do think Nascimento is just the more dangerous grappler. He's huge for the weight class. He's got huge limbs as well. He can hold people in back control. I already felt like Nascimento lost to Phil Ho, and they gave that to him. So both of those guys are kind of, you know, whereas I feel like Raposo, he's had some split decisions as well, but I feel like he rightfully loses them, like against Sumu Darji. And, you know, he made it a close fight with him, which is aging well. And Sumu Darji looked like a career best in his last fight. But, you know, I'm going to have to go with Nascimento. I think on the ground, I've seen Raposo get submitted by Hadley. I think Hadley's mid. I saw him on I saw him on the Contender Series lose to Hadley, but I also saw him on the Ultimate Fighter, and he was like really confident, and they were really hyping him up because he was from Boston, and Dana loves Boston people, and he lost to a bum, a Ludovic Shalinian, and they're like, no, he'll be back, and like they gave him the second chance in the Contender Series. He lost that too, and then he got back in the UFC, and he's pretty much lost every fight here outside of Azat. I'm going to trust Nascimento. He's a little bit mid on the feet, so it makes you worry a little bit as well. But I trust him to just be effective in the clinch with knees, be okay enough on the feet to land, and just dominate the grappling, get the positions he needs. I'm gonna say submission. I think Mitch Raposo can get rear naked choked pretty easily. I'm gonna go Nascimento second round rear naked.
Mike, you gave your prediction? Bet. Okay. Yeah, we are in the flyweight division in this one in Winnipeg. We got Alan Nascimento. I want to say a 22-6 Brazilian flyweight going up against 10-3 Mitch Raposo. Let me just double check that. And yes, I am right on that. Alan Nascimento coming off of a win against Cody Durden his last time out. I'll be honest. Yeah, he got the anaconda choke in the second round, but prior to that, I mean, on the feet, I color me unimpressed. I really was not impressed with the volume, with the power, the shot selection, everything. On the feet, I left that fight uninspired. But that besides that, he still got the win. He got the finish. He is currently on a 4-fight win streak over Jake Hadley, Carlos Hernandez, Jafal Filho, Cody Durden. Are those the best names in the flyweight division? No, but nonetheless, those are names in the flyweight division. Jafal Filho is on a good run right now. Cody Durden, say what you want about him, but he fights a lot of tough guys. Carlos Hernandez, I like more than most. Jake Hadley, no longer in the UFC, but still a name. Last loss was to Giro Olimbekov in 2021. As for Mitch Raposo, this is a guy who fights close. If there was ever a way to describe his style of fighting, I would say he just fights the margins, fights very close. Whether he's winning or losing, it just feels like he's not getting blown out, but he's not dominating either. He's just kind of checking the boxes and winning within very close margins. His UFC losses consist of Sumaderji. It was a split, but it really didn't feel like it. But I will say, in comparison to a Jesus Aguilar, I guess Raposo did better than him. Andre Lima, he lost. It was a split. Didn't feel like it, but in his defense, I thought his boxing looked better in that fight than I thought going into it. And he's been rear naked choked in the Contender Series by Jake Hadley. So I think this is a black and white fight. I don't like Alan Nascimento striking. I think Mitch Raposo can be winning the striking exchanges in this fight, honestly. I think output, cardio would favor Raposo. I think if this hits the ground, Nascimento, out of his 22 wins, I want to say 16 of them are by submission. So there's an obvious danger there. And Raposo having a wrestling base, you could definitely see an instance where maybe he gets hit with something and he shoots a panic takedown into a guillotine, all things of that nature. But I found something interesting about Alan Nascimento's career. All of his career losses are by decision. This is a finisher type fighter, in my opinion, in Nascimento. He trains at Shootbox with Charles, so he's gonna want to go for the finish, whether it's on the feet or the ground. All of his career 6 losses are by decision, and he has multiple splits. I think if this fight goes the distance, I think on the feet, I think Raposo is going to be winning minutes, and if Nascimento's not getting knockdowns and he's not getting submission attempts, I don't see how he wins this fight. So for me, it's finish or bust for Nascimento, and I just really was not impressed with the Cody Durden fight. So for those reasons, I'm taking the big dog shot here. I'm going to go Mitch Raposo by decision in Winnipeg. I think he just stays safer, more technical, better on the feet. I think he's going to win on output. I think he will potentially mix in takedowns. I don't know if it's the best decision because early on I could definitely see Nascimento getting scrambles or sweeps that could lead to dangerous submission positions. But I think Mitch Raposo is going to want to be on the feet in this fight more than people make him out to be. So I'm going to go to Mitch Raposo decision where he effectively outpoints, outdamages Nascimento on the feet. And he's going to kind of make Nascimento look fraudulent on the feet, honestly. I think that's what happens in this fight. I think Nascimento is going to need to grapple. And I saw a stat on UFC.com. He has under 30% takedown accuracy. He's not the best wrestler. But I do think if this fight hits the mat, very dangerous for Raposo whenever it does. But I'm going to go Mitch Raposo by decision. I feel like he'll stay safe on the ground enough if he does choose to wrestle and outpoint him on the feet. Raposo with the upset by, dare I even say, a split decision.
All righty, moving on. We got, god damn, this is so fucking trash, bro. This card is so fucking horrible. JJ Aldrich taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Go. Whew. I'm going with Jamie Lynn Horth here by decision. I ain't really got anything to break down here. JJ Aldrich is garbage.
Yeah, no, they're both, women's MMA fighters. Garbage, as Mike said. You know, when there's Canadian women in Canada, I feel like you gotta lean that way a little bit, just naturally. They're more masculine than any of the men. That's for damn sure. Aldrich, Mike knows. There was one time I stupidly bet on women's MMA, and she was the girl I bet on, and I got angry when she made me lose. Ever since then, I just think of her as mid. She's like ranked somehow. I think she's like 15, which is crazy. But I think Jamie Lynn Horth is honestly a pretty competent MMA fighter. I feel like she's one of the girls who's like an actual MMA fighter. She's not anywhere near hot enough to do anything other than this. It's this or like working in the coal mines. So, she's doing this. So, I feel like she's a little bit more head in the game. I think she's going to want to really win in Canada and, solidify her status as a Canadian contender, I guess, in the women's divisions. And honestly, women's are ass, but the Canadian women's are better than the Canadian men's. So I'm going to go Jamie Lynn Horth decision, Canadian women decision. Damn, Tony just disappeared. Or maybe that was his prediction.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Come back, I guess.
Let's talk about this great old fight. Okay, thank God.
I'm back. Sorry about
Fucking
that.
guy, dude.
That was scary.
Yeah. Unprofessional, bro. Come on.
Maybe it's a sign this is a bad fight. We are in the women's flyweight division here. We got JJ Aldridge, a wily veteran of the weight class, going up against Canada's own Jamie Lynn Horth. I would say Jamie Lynn Horth has just had a better success or momentum in her career at this point. She's on a 2-fight win streak over Vanessa Demopoulos and Teresa Bleda after losing to Miranda Maverick. Her other loss is a split decision to Veronica Hardy in 2023. As for JJ Aldrich, the 7 losses, she's lost in all 3 methods. She's lost multiple decisions. She's been KO'd. She's been subbed. I do think she has fought tough opponents, though. Erin Blanchfield in particular. Ariane Lipsky's not a bad fighter. I think her striking is improving every fight I see her, even if it's in the PFL. Macy Barber TKO'd her. So, both these girls have fought tough opponents. I would say JJ is tougher girls. She's known to train with Shevchenko and Rose Namajunas and all this and that, but can't seem to put it all together in the octagon, or at least put it enough consistently to get a win streak. So I'm going to go Jamie Lynn Horth here. I'll go decision, I guess. I feel like she'll use the clinch, dirty box if she needs to. I feel like early on, technically, I could see JJ Aldrich presenting problems in the grappling and the striking. But I think as the fight goes on, I just feel like the weight of a Jamie Lynn Horth and the clinch exchanges up against the fence, the power coming back. I feel like the more physically imposing woman in this matchup is Jamie Lynn Horth. And it being in Canada, I feel like she'll get the benefit of the doubt in a decision-based scenario. So I'm going to go Jamie Lynn Horth in decision, where she just kind of uglies up the fight, uses her physicality, gets in shots when she needs to. And even though her offense isn't as aesthetically as clean as JJ Aldrich is, it'll be as effective in the damage. So I'm going to go Jamie Lynn Horth by decision.
All right. Let me see what's the next fight. Another shit fight. Holy gosh. Great fight. Bantamweight fight. Melissa Croden taking on Daria Zazikov. Damn, this is a really shit fight. I'll go with. Let me see this. I'll go with Melissa Croden. I'll go with the women's MMA signature decision here. Not really to break down, man. There's nothing really to break down. It's so shit. So shit.
Yeah, this is another tough fight to call because it's women's MMA. Honestly, that's the reason. That's why it's hard to call. Zalechnikova got some striking for the women's division, but she seems to lose when girls are able to mix in the grappling. Looking at the record, Zalechnikova has the better record, but like I said, kind of my last prediction, I'm going to kind of copy it. I feel like Canadian women in Canada, there's something manly about it. They're like enchanted by the polar spirits of the fucking Yukon or something, like this is the thing. Like the Brazilian women, they got more natural testosterone, but these Canadian females, with the way the government is, I think they've got more artificial testosterone. You know what I mean? They're a little bit more. They don't know if they want to be Bruce or Caitlyn all the time. And I think, right now they're Caitlyn, and I think meanwhile they're Kate. You know what I mean? While it was Bruce, it was running pretty damn fast. So, I'm gonna have to trust the track and running ability of Melissa Croden in this fight. The cardio, former sprinter. No, I'll stop. I really hope she never sees this. But 7-3 is a bad record, but I do think she's able to get scrappy, get in the clinch, kind of use her superior size and muscle and testosterone to kind of pull over Zalechnikova, who's kind of feminine looking. She's kind of hot, which is probably why they signed her. Getting KO'd by Melissa Mullins at any point in your career is not a good look. And Zalechnikova wears damage really bad. She's like one of these bitches or people that, I guess, that you punch them in the face and they just immediately get red or bleed. And you can't have that when you're fighting damn near a man. So I'm gonna go Melissa Croden decision. There's gonna be a lot of physical, visible damage by the end of the fight, even though nothing happened.
Women's bantamweight division, Canada's own Melissa Scare Croden 7-3 going up against Daria Zelenikova 10-2, the Iron Lady. So actually a decent fight in the women's bantamweight division. This is not a very deep division. As you know, outside of the top 15, it's very thin. Melissa Croden, I think she is the more physically imposing woman in this matchup, similar to what I said with the Jamie Lynn Horth fight, and similar to Alex said. He has a very solid point. Canadian women, for whatever reason, I feel like they appear to be the better prospects as opposed to Canadian men. You got girls like Jillian Robertson, Jasmine Zudavicius, who I believe is fighting on this card. They're pretty decent fighters. Croden, I think, is more physically imposing. All three of her pro losses are by decision, and they're pretty decent fighters. She lost a decision earlier in her career, and then she lost to Jacqueline Cavalcanti, and then she lost to Luana Santos, who, I think are good fighters in the bantamweight division. As for Daria Zelenikova, she also has two good losses in her career. It's Melissa Mullins, who first round KO'd her, I think. She definitely KO'd her on the regional scene, and then she won the rematch in the UFC, and she lost to Eileen Perez, who's a surging contender in her own right. She hasn't lost a fight since her debut. So both these girls lose to good fighters. Zelenikova has been knocked out before. That is worrisome in this fight because I do think, like I said, Croden, I think, is the more physically imposing girl. This fight being in Canada, you would tend to think in a decision-based scenario would favor her. But I think in a technical striking aspect, I actually think Zelenikova is better. I feel like if Croden isn't getting the dirty clinch game going with shots in the clinch or the grappling going, this could be a troublesome matchup for her. And that's actually why I feel this is finish or bust for Croden. All of her pro losses are by decision. I think Zelenikova's style is more suited to a decision scenario, even though we are in hostile territory in Canada. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go Daria Iron Lady Zelenikova by decision. I think she's the better striker, and I actually think she trains at the better gym at MMA Factory. I don't know for sure if Nora Cornell trains at MMA Factory, but I know she's in France, so I would think she would train in that gym, I'd like to think. But I think she's the better striker. I feel like if Croden doesn't mix in the grappling, I think it's going to be a long night. I think she's going to be chasing her, but not mad at the Croden pick. I'm just going to take the shot here with Zelenikova. I feel like her style is more suited for a decision, so I'm going to go with the upset.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on. We got sorry. Sorry. When I see Tanner Boser's face, it just, I don't know why. I just gotta laugh. He's fighting Gokhan Sarakam. I don't know if I fucked up his name, but I apologize. Gokhan's gonna fucking kill him. Let's just call it how it is, man. He's gonna fucking kill him. I don't know why, but there's that little pig Winnie the Pooh face on his on Tanner Boser's face that you just gotta start laughing every time when you see it. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I got Gokhan Sarikam. Sarikam. I don't know. I'm butchering his name. I'm just gonna end it off here with a first or second round murder for Gokhan. I think he should win this fight. Tanner Boser's he's shite.
Yeah, I watched a little tape on Gokhan Sarikam before this card just because I didn't know who he was. Tanner Boser, another one of the many UFC fighters that didn't deserve to be re-signed, that got re-signed anyway for some fucking reason. But he's here. Light heavyweight and heavyweight, much more of a smaller heavyweight. But Gokhan Sarikam, from what I've seen, he's pretty fucking ass. I don't think he's going to go far in the division. If you look up his highlights, you're not seeing highlights. You're seeing like double legs and single legs and like him landing some punches. It's like pretty mid. Tanner Boser, I definitely think, has the advantage on the feet. Gokhan Sarikam definitely has the advantage on the ground. You know, I think we were blessed last week with Curtis Blades versus Josh Hockett. We all know that ain't how heavyweight MMA usually is. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Tanner Boser, Gokhan Sarikam, fat, sloppy fucking pigs in a pig pen fighting over the next bucket of slop. You know, and we have to watch the slop. Gokhan Sarikam, I think, is, you know, a little bit more athletic, probably more likely to be on juice than Tanner Boser. Stronger guy, bigger guy. I think he's going to be able to get top control. So that's what I'm going to pick. Tanner Boser's not good. Canadian men, you gotta be a special Canadian man for me to pick you. We'll get to some later, but not very many. I'm gonna go Gokhan Sarikam by boring heavyweight lay and pray. I'm gonna say decision.
We are in the light heavyweight division with a UFC return and a UFC debut. The return of 22-10, is that right? Yes, 22-10-1. The bulldozer Tanner Boser, and the UFC debut of one Gokhan Sarikam out of Turkey. I think he's 11-1, if I'm correct. Let me see, 11-2. The older fighter is Gokhan, but you know Tanner Boser's 34 to his 36, so not too much of a difference there. Don't really know too much about Gokhan. It's his debut, so we're gonna find out, obviously. But with Tanner, I've seen more of him. He's been knocked out twice. He's lost 8 decisions. His last couple losses are like Ian Cutelaba, a split to Rodrigo Nascimento, a split to Ilir Latifi, Andrei Arlovsky. Good fighters, but you know, it's just like we kind of seen what Tanner Boser is. We're gonna find out if he made improvements. Whereas we don't know what Gokhan is. I agree with Alex's sentiment. I mean, we hate to be that guy, but it's just the numbers, the analytics, the data point to it. Canadian men just aren't that great fighters. And that's why I think George St. Pierre is the GOAT, because genetically statistics are against him, and he was able to accomplish everything that he did and the accolades that he did. So shout out to him. But yeah, I'm going to go Gokhan Sarikam in his debut. I think I'm just going to copy and paste what Alex said. We've kind of seen what Tanner Boser is. I feel like Gokhan will mix in takedowns when he needs to. He'll be more consistent. And I expect him to take advantage of Tanner Boser's mistakes. This is his opportunity to show if he made any improvements at all. And the last couple of names that I listed are UFC caliber, but he's never been a crazy athlete. Gokhan, his 2 losses aren't bad, you know, and they're actually in shape. I mean, yeah, basically in shape light heavyweights who he's losing to, which I hate to say, I don't think Tanner Boser is. He lost to Oleg Popov, who's not bad in the PFL. He's like 23-2. And he lost to Steve Mowry, who was undefeated at the time, now 10-2-1. He struggled in the PFL, but still athletic, light heavyweights, which I think Tanner Boser isn't. Give me Gokhan Sarakhan by decision in his UFC debut.
Mike.
Sorry again, you guys. This card's so great. I just lost track of time and space. Next fight is the middleweight division. You got Julian LeBlanc taking on Robert Valentin. I'm gonna go with Julian LeBlanc here. It's just very hard to pick. It's hard to pick Robert Valentin. He's kind of shit, and he's also a Torres Finney victim. That is not a good sign. Although he did have a competitive fight with Torres Finney, but still, you shouldn't be having a fight where you're losing to Torres Finney to making it a competitive fight. Anyways, I'm gonna go with LeBlanc, Julian LeBlanc by I'll go sub. I'm gonna go with second round sub here. He has some submissions in his game from what it looks like, and most of his fights are finishes. He's only been to 4 decisions, and he has four total finishes, both 4 knockouts, 4 subs, and also total of 4 decisions. He's lost 2 and he's won 2. I'll go submission, second round submission for Julian LeBlanc. Sorry, Robert Valentin, but you're just too shit for me to pick.
This is a tough fight. Julian LeBlanc, one of the many fighters I had to look up and watch tape of before this because I had no idea who he was. Watching his tape, there's just, I have to say something here because it's a podcast, but there's not a whole lot I can say. He's not really anything anywhere. He's not bad anywhere, really. I can't be like, oh, he's dog shit here, but he's just not great anywhere. Like, he just doesn't strike me as an athletic person. He's got okay striking. He's got okay grappling. He's relatively technical, but weirdly, I honestly, from what I saw, he's actually at his best when he's making it a scrappy fight and getting in the clinch and using his knees and getting in the pocket and just throwing down. And I think that is not what he wants to do against Robert Valentin in this fight. Robert Valentin's the bigger guy, more athletic, got more power, more of a physical phenom. It's like Viking versus Villager is kind of what it looks like on paper. Julian LeBlanc, like, I know people say like, oh, you would never know this guy is a fighter, but like, no homo. If you saw him at a pool and they had their shirt off, you'd be like, all right, this guy's something. He's at least in really good shape. This guy doesn't even look like that. He's got no semblance of abs or bicep muscles. Like, you'd probably think he's just somebody's dad. Like, he honestly looks like that. I think Robert Valentin's ass. He's got a terrible record. Losing to Torres Finney is pretty bad, but he did get blobbed out. Getting blobbed out on the fence is a way to lose, unfortunately, in MMA. But I don't think LeBlanc will do that. I do think there's a way maybe if he can get the grappling going, but he just didn't seem strong. He didn't seem physical. I didn't see his takedowns look super great and technical. I think his best thing that he does is get scrappy. And I think if you get scrappy and try to do your best thing, you'll lose to Valentin. And Valentin's honestly got a pretty good grappling game too. Subbed Patty McCrory in the Ultimate Fighter, who's a pretty decent fighter. Ass in the UFC, but Canadian men. I'm going to go with the underdog, Robert Valentin, getting a KO at some point in this fight earlier. I'm going to say first or second round.
Interesting fight here in the middleweight division. The UFC debut of one Julian LeBlanc, 10-2, going up against 10-6 Robert Valentin. I would say the better record in Canada. Those advantages are definitely in favor of LeBlanc. He seems to be the more technical striker, a kung fu base from what I'm hearing about. Again, most of these fighters are making debuts. I haven't really seen too much tape on all of them. I could kind of tell more about the fighter that they're facing more than the actual debutant because I've seen most of the guys they're facing. He's on a win streak. LeBlanc is. He's on a 4 fight win streak. one with a win over Darian Weeks, who was in the UFC. I'm not sure if he still is, but was in the UFC. Both of his losses are by decision, so by default, I would assume he's the more durable fighter going into this matchup. As for Robert Valentin, the first thing you notice in his record is the 6 losses, but it's against at least like decent competition. Ateba Gautier, I mean, we know how dangerous he is. Torres Finney, he did get taken down in control for the majority of the fight, but he was able to make that into a split. The Ryan Loder ground and pound TKO loss isn't great, but a D1 like NCAA caliber level wrestler, I would say. And he has a TKO loss on the regional scene to an Ivo Aslan who fights at 205. So he lost to a light heavyweight and he lost to a Tebagatier and 2 wrestlers. He lost to 2 dynamic strikers and he lost to 2 wrestlers. Not too much shame in that. It's a tough fight, but I just feel like I agree with Alex's sentiment that LeBlanc, I feel like he doesn't really like. Yes, he's well rounded. He's got 4 wins by submission, 4 wins by knockout, and he's won decisions before. I just don't know if like he's only getting knocked out by Ateba. He's getting knocked out by Ebo. I mean, those aren't bad losses. And I rate the Paddy McCrory win. I feel like McCrory against LeBlanc, I'd consider picking McCrory. So I'm actually going to side with Alex on this one. I'm going to go with Robert Valentin. Not too many fighters representing Switzerland. You got Volkan Ozdemir at light heavyweight. Valentin hasn't won a fight in the UFC, and this is LeBlanc's debut. So, more often than not, you should go with the debutant to get his first win as opposed to someone who's failed multiple times. But I'm thinking that Valentin knows, like, back's against the wall, hostile territory. He's got to show up. He's got to make it a fight. LeBlanc's never been finished, and if this fight does go the distance, you tend to think that they would give it to him, it being in Canada. So I do think Valentin's going to have to go for a finish. Out of his 2 methods that he's more successful at, he's got 3 KOs and 6 subs. I'm going to go with the submission. I'm going to go with a late second round submission for Robert Valentin and a scrap, where I think he's going to have to take shots to close the distance to get entries in the grappling exchanges. I think he's going to get hit a bit. He's going to have to show some toughness in this one. He's going to have to show the desire to win because I think he's going to have to walk through fire to get it. I think he could lose the first round, but I think his urgency going forward in round 2, he'll mix in the grappling. He'll be more successful with it. He'll get the takedowns. He'll either get the ground and pound needed to free up the neck of LeBlanc and get the sub, or he'll hurt him on the feet, and then as he's concussed, he'll be able to get the submission. But I'm going to go with the late second round submission for Robert Valentin in the upset.
Alrighty, moving on. We got a fight in the lightweight division. Denise Bazooka taking on Marcio Barbosa. I'm gonna go with Marcio Barbosa here. I think he's just gonna fry Dennis Bazooka here. I think Dennis Bazooka's shit. Marcio Barbosa's not bad. He's pretty good from what I saw in his Contender Series fight. Looked phenomenal. I'm gonna go with a first round KO. I think from Marcio Barbosa. I think he's going to continue the streak of just decapitating people, and I think he will decapitate Dennis Bazooka here.
Yeah, Marcio Barbosa's a pretty good prospect, knockout artist. Like almost all of his wins are knockouts in the first round, which is pretty damn impressive. He has lost before by KO to Gabriel Santos, which honestly isn't that bad of a look. Gabriel Santos seems to beat a lot of other regional Brazilian guys that later go on to go in the UFC. So Jose Delano, Marcio Barbosa, both back-to-back too. That's actually pretty impressive. But Marcio Barbosa's got real power in the hands. There is a tendency of him to just kind of wing hooks that kind of makes me worried a little bit. But I think Dennis Bazooka is just, New England filth. He's not from a New England cartel. He's from Aljo's gym, but still just mid, like if you're going to be from Aljo's gym, you better have some fucking wicked grappling game. And he just doesn't, he mid striking, mid grappling. Like, I don't really even know what his thing is. I think he's mostly a striker, but like, I've seen him get KOs on the feet, I think, before. Yeah, Connor Matthews, who's a fucking bum. But everything else has just been him losing in the UFC. I'm not going to trust him against a valid prospect like Marcio Barboza with real knockout power. And, if you're getting KO'd as a younger guy in Bazooka by Jamal Emmers, Jamal Emmers is pretty precise, and he can do that, but I don't think he has the power of Marcio Barboza. I think if Marcio Barboza hurts Bazooka, he's going to finish him. He's got real finishing potential. I'm going to say second round. I'm going to say Bazooka gets out of the first, just kind of playing cat and mouse, trying to survive. But Marcio Barboza will eventually catch up with him and KO him in the second. Tony.
Main card opener, UFC debut of Marcio Barboza. T. Koto is a nickname. 17-2 record, 27 years old. Explosive, dynamic. These are the words to describe Marcio Barboza. Got the win on the Contender Series in a devastating fashion, the first round knockout. 16 of his 17 pro wins are first round finishes, 2 being submissions, 14 being knockouts. I think that speaks to the type of caliber of finisher that he is. And he has wins over Jose Delano and what's his name? Gabriel Santos. Like, these are great wins that he was able to get. And both those guys, you see what they've done in the UFC. Delano with his debut and Gabriel Santos for what he's been able to do. I think that speaks to what he's been able to go against. He lost to Gabriel Santos. He was having a lot of success in that fight. I misspoke. I said that he beat him. I misspoke. Gabriel Santos beat Marcio Barboza, but he was winning the fight very much, and then he just lost in the second. But Santos is a good fighter. Bazooka trains at a good gym. Now it says he's training at the Goat Shed. That is a good gym, but still, he's only been knocked out the one time. Hasn't ever been subbed. Majority of his losses are decisions. This fight doesn't feel like it'll go to a decision. Both these guys go for it. I'm gonna go Marcio Barboza here, and I think I'm gonna go first round because Jamal Emmers was able to knock out Dennis Bazooka in the first round. I feel like Barboza isn't going to give Bazooka enough time to get his game going, get his rhythm going. I feel like he's going to blitz him, and he's just going to impose his will from the jump. I'm going to go first round TKO for Marcio Barboza in his debut. I feel like at 27 with 19 pro fights, he's not green. Like, he's been in firefights. He's experienced losses. Also, a fun trend that I've noticed about him in his career is that he is a prolific finisher. 16 of his 17 wins are first round finishes. But in his losses, he loses in the second round to Gabriel Santos. He loses in the second round to Luis Felipe. Like, in the fights that go past the distance, is he the same fighter? That's a question, but you got to be able to survive that storm. Bazooka is durable, but I'm looking at his losses in the UFC. Sean Woodson, Jamal Emmers. I think Francis Marshall. I think punch for punch, Marcio Barboza is harder, is faster, more explosive than all of these guys. Melsi Badassarian, not bad fighters he's lost to Bazooka, but I just think this is another good fighter he's running into. I'm gonna go first round TKO for Marcio Barboza in an emphatic UFC debut.
Alrighty, I'm moving on. We got Thiago Moises taking on Gao Zhang. I don't know if I got that right.
Gage.
I'll go with Gage Young. My bad. G Money. That's his nickname. I'll go with G. I'll go with Gage Young. I'll go with him by. Let me see his finishing. He's only been to 5 decisions, and he's got 6 wins by KO. This is a tough fight. Tough fight to predict. Because Thiago, when he's on his game, he is really good. But he just got KO'd by Jared Gordon. I'm gonna go with Gage Young by KO here. I'll go with a second round KO for Gage Young. I do think Father Time is going to catch up on. Oh wait, no, he's 31. I sound retarded there, but I do think the durability in Thiago Moises has been his downfall, and I think it'll continue to prevail. It is winnable though for him, but I'm going with Gage Young by KO second round.
This is an interesting fight because Moises is pretty mid at this point in his career. He had a lot of moments of having close fights with a lot of guys. And, looking at his age, you'd kind of expect him to be, 34, 35. He's 31. He really isn't that old. He's gave tough fights to guys like Islam. He's lost. The last loss, I think, is probably the worst. Jared Gordon KOing you is pretty fucking bad. He's got power in his hands, though. I'm going to be honest. Jared Gordon's got a decent boxing. Ludovic Klein, decent win. Loss. Benoit, not a bad loss. Joel, not a bad loss. Islam, not a bad loss. He got Melkaziel Costa in his debut on short notice, subbed him in the second round. I remember that. Honestly, I'm going to go Thiago Moises here. For everything I've seen from Gage Young, he's just very, very mediocre. He's 25. He isn't really a finisher from what I've seen. Maybe he was on the regionals. Losing to Colin Salkild isn't a bad look. Evan Elder, he's not a bad fighter either. But the problem is Mahashate. Although he did win that fight, I honestly kind of remember him losing. But he did win. That was a very shit fight. I feel like Mahashate is shit. I don't care that he KO'd Steve Garcia. That reflects negatively on Steve Garcia and nothing more. That doesn't mean Mahashate is good. I think Mahashate is a can. If you're making a close fight with him, it's a bad look. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see anything in Gage Young that I really like. I don't see him anywhere super great. I don't think he's a better striker than Moises or a better grappler. I think Moises, despite having some hiccups, he's got good calf kicks, trains with ATT, trains a lot of good bodies, a lot of lightweights in ATT he's getting good rounds in with. And I think, he's just got a level of experience. He's fought one of the greatest fighters of all time in Islam. He's fought other good opponents, lost to good opponents as well. He's never really lost to a bum. Jared Gordon's is the closest thing he's had to losing to a bum. But I'm going to trust Moises here. I just want to fade Gage Young. I don't see anything important or crazy with him. He just seems like a mid-level fighter that'll never be anything. And Thiago Moises was at least ranked at one point. I'm going to go Moises by decision.
Tough fight in the lightweight division. Here we have a veteran. Now at this point, dare I say a veteran. When did he make his debut, Thiago Moises? Moises made his debut in 2020, 2026, 6 years in promotion. I wouldn't say a veteran, but a contender. A contender trying to defend his ranking position here in Thiago Moises. 19-9 record going up against Gage G Money Young. I want to say he's 10-3. Yeah. Durability, I would reckon, would be in favor of Gage Young. Thiago Moises has been knocked out a couple times, but I mean, look who's knocking him out. It's Joel Alvarez. It's Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, this guy, these guys finish a lot of people. He also got finished by, who else was it in the UFC? Yes, Jared Gordon. He's coming off the knockout loss to him. He's been subbed by Makhachev. That's kind of it. I think his grappling is proven. Trains an American top team. He's lost multiple decisions in his career. He's lost to Ludovic Klein. He's lost to Demir Magulov, Benil Dariush, Robert Watley in the regional scene. He's not bad. Jason Knight when he was 14-1. He's 22-7 now. Thiago Moises has kind of just been around the block. He's 31 years old. I could see why people would be shocked at his age because he fights older than he is. He's really been in the sport for a long time. He's got 25 plus pro fights. At this age, for a lot of male fighters, this is supposed to be their peak years in that 31 to 34 window, where the experience meets the physical and the mental, and they turn into their best form of a fighter. He trains an American top team, a better gym. My concern is if Moises isn't getting the grappling going, I think this can be competitive on the feet. I think technically maybe you can make the case he is better than Gage Young, but I do think power-wise and chin-wise, I would go with Gage Young. Moises isn't really a knockout threat. He only has the 4 knockout wins out of 19. For me, this is kind of a a little bit of a sub or bust situation for Thiago Moises. I feel like if he isn't getting dominant grappling positions on Gage Young, I feel like this is a long night for him. And I kind of question his durability coming off a first-round knockout loss to Jared Gordon. I think he is technically the more sound fighter, and he is the more experienced guy. But come to think of it, out of Gage Young's 3 losses, 2 of them aren't that bad. Evan Elder, I don't think he's a bad fighter, 10-2, and Quinlan Salkid. I mean, for what it's worth, I think he put up more of a fight than anybody in the UFC has currently to Quinlan Salkid. I think this is a close fight, but like I said, if Moises isn't getting the grappling going, I think this is going to be a tough night in the office for him. And he has below a 40% takedown accuracy career in the UFC. He has legitimate jiu-jitsu skills, but the wrestling, it's getting better, but it's still not where I think it needs to be. So I think this is a tough fight, but I'm going to go Gage Young. I'm going to go Gage Young in a scrap. I'm going to go 3rd round TKO. I think Thiago Moises wins the 1st round. I think he gets the takedown, gets the grappling established. I think he creates that threat of whether you're going to have to defend my striking or you're going to have to defend my takedowns. And it's going to give adversity to Gage Young, and we're going to find out what type of fighter he is if he's able to overcome that. In the 2nd round, I think he's going to put a little bit more caution to the side, and he's going to be willing to take shots to give them. And I think he's going to start chipping away at Moises, and the takedowns are going to get harder to get. And I think it'll be 1-1 going into round 3, where Moises won round 1 clearly. Round 2 was close, but body language-wise, you would venture to say Gage Young won it. And then in round 3, I don't think Gage Young leaves it to the judges. I feel like he pushes on forward, puts caution and respect to the wayside, and I think he gets a 3rd round TKO for G Money. I think Moises is the more technical fighter everywhere, but I do not trust his durability right about now. And I know he is only 31, but in fight years, he came to the UFC in 2020. It's 2026. He's been finished a couple times. He is going against significantly better competition, so this could definitely be a levels performance for him here. But he got to show me. I just don't like that 1st round knockout loss to Jared Gordon. That's making me very skeptical. I'm going to go 3rd round TKO, Gage Young.
All right, we're moving on. We got Jasmine Jasudavicius taking on Kyrene Silva. I'll go with Jasmine Jasudavicius just because it is in Canada and she is she's not the best Canadian women's fighter, but she's not the worst. Like, she is up there with one of the best Canadian women fighters. I'll go with the women's MMA signature to put the cherry on top here. I just think she's fought better comp. She's fought in the likes of Manon Fiorot. She's fought Jessica Andrade. She's fought Tracy Cortez. She's fought in some of the good women in the flyweight division. You could also say Kyrene Silva's fought in pretty good fights too. She fought Macy Barber, Viviane Araujo. There's some decent names on here, but I wouldn't say they're as good as Jasmine Jasudavicius's resume. I'll go with a 30, 27, 29, 28 Jasmine Jasudavicius women's MMA masterclass.
Yeah, another Canadian women's fight, another probably Canadian women's victory. I got Jasmine Jasudavicius over Kyrene Silva. Losing to Macy Barber just don't hit the same. No, that's not the reason. But Kyrene Silva, I just think, in a fight like this, both girls kind of want to implement their grappling. I think Jasmine Jasudavicius is the taller, lankier girl. She's the better striker, and she's going to put out more output. I think all those things lead to me picking her pretty clearly. It could be a close fight on paper, but I think everything just kind of points me in the direction of Jasudavicius. Trains at Extreme Couture. Maybe she gets caught in like a sparring style, but for women's MMA, I actually feel like that's not that bad. Being able to land cleanly and get out of the way and kind of fight at that sparring face and just continue to touch. So I'm gonna go Jasmine Jasudavicius, just being the better striker, mixing it in better, and having more cardio, putting out more output. Kyrene Silva's really mid. She's got like a knee bar finish, I think, and that's really it. And I think a guillotine, but Yeah, I'm gonna go Jasmine Jasudavicius decision. I'm gonna say 30-27, just outpacing her the whole time.
We are in the women's flyweight division on the main card. Here we have Jasmine Jasudavicius, 14-4, going up against what looks to be 19-6, Karine Killer Silva. Jasmine Jasudavicius, I think she's battle tested. She is on the older side, I will say. I think she's 37 now. Double check that. Jasmine is 37. You look at her losses, 4 losses, 3 of them, I mean, what can be said? Manon Fiorot, devastating knockout loss she's coming off of here, so we're going to see how she able to respond off a loss like that. Natalia Silva, to be able to go to the distance in that fight with the damage she sustained speaks to her toughness. And Tracy Cortez, I mean, all of these girls are, one's going to fight for the title, one fought for the title, and Tracy Cortez is very much in the rankings. And then she has a split decision loss to Elise Reed. As for Karine Silva, you can make a similar case. You look at her losses, and they're UFC caliber as well. Viviane Arillo, Macy Barber, Marina Moroz has a submission win on her on the regional scene. So both these girls have lost to high caliber opponents, but I think the tier of opponent that Jasmine's faced is greater. Fioro, Natalia Silva, I think those two alone, like striking wise, they would beat up Karine Silva too. I think Jasmine's the better wrestler. I think Karine has a submission threat. Allegedly, she trains at the Fighting Nerds, according to Tapology. That's what it says Karine does. So maybe her striking will be improved. She went the distance with Macy Barber. I just feel like between the two of them, the more consistent thing I could trust, I feel like I could trust that Jasmine Jasudavicius is going to get takedowns in this fight. On the feet, maybe Jasmine's more vulnerable than we know coming off her first knockout loss. How is that going to do with her confidence? She has a very forward pressure-heavy style where she wants to get the grappling going and impose her will. It's an interesting fight. I don't mind the dog shot on Karine Silva because of like the question of where Jasmine's durability is, but I'm going to trust in Jasmine. I think she's the more consistent fighter. I think her wrestling is the thing I could trust the most in this fight. She has 4 submission wins, 2 TKOs. Karine Silva, she's been subbed to lesser caliber of grappler, in my opinion. She's been subbed to Marina Moroz. She's been subbed to Marina Mocantina by knee bar. She's been knee barred herself, Karine Silva. So I think she wants to make a statement in Canada. She's a big favorite. I think she pushes a harder pace. I think her wrestling's better. I don't hate a TKO look either, but I'm going to go with a submission. I'm going to go Jasmine Jasudavicius with I'll go late second round sub Jasmine Jasudavicius, where in the first round, she's getting the grappling going. She's getting the takedowns. Karine Silva's getting frustrated. She's trying to throw up submissions, but they're up to no avail. Jasmine's getting her ground and pound going. By the end of round 1, Jasmine wins it on damage. Then round 2 starts. Karine pushes forward. She's getting a little bit more overzealous on the feet, trying to get big minutes back because she knows she's going against the crowd and Jasmine. And I think it's going to lead to easier takedown entries for Jasmine on the counter. And eventually Jasmine is just going to keep either punching her to the extremity that she's going to give up her neck or give up a position for a sub, or they'll just step in and call it a little ground and pound TKO. But I'm going to go second round sub. Late second round sub to Jasudavicius.
Alrighty, moving on. We got the featured fight of the evening. Mendel Mango Nalo taking on Jai, the Black Country Banger Herbert. I'm gonna go with Mandel Nalo. Jai Herbert is not really active for my liking, and he's also getting older. Also not really looking that great, to be honest with you. I normally don't really go with the Mandel Nalos of the UFC. If you know, you know. But something about this kid, man. Something about him. I'm gonna go with the. Ooh, he's also 36. I did not know that shit. I'll stick with the Mandel Nalo pick. I'll go with the decision. I'll go with the 29-28 decision by Mandel Nalo.
Yeah, on paper, this is a bit of a mirror match. Both guys are around the same age. Mandel Nalo, despite being the prospect, he's 36, pretty old for a prospect, but at the same time, he comes in not very green. He comes in with experience. Both guys are rangy strikers that kickbox on the back foot, but I think the big thing that favors Nalo here is his aggressiveness. He's able to push a higher pace. He seems to be able to do more damage. He's got nasty leg kicks he's been able to finish a couple fights with, and he usually uses them to set up his finishes with the hands. His highlights go crazy. He's got a lot of like step back, straight, just nasty long guy shots that he's KOing people with. You know, history tells you not to pick Canadian men, and it also tells you not to pick Indians. So, you would think it would extend to an Indian Canadian, but, in math, they teach you two negatives equal out and make a positive. So you never know. Mandel Nalo is pretty good. Good back-taking abilities. Whenever he hurts people or he has an opportunity, he's very quick to take the back. Jai Herbert has that ability too. Like I said, it's very close to a mirror match, but I think the thing that makes me want to go Nalo is just he's taken less damage, I feel like, than Jai Herbert. He has been KO'd himself, but Jai Herbert's KO seemed to be bad. He took a lot of damage in the Moicano fight as well. Just seems to be a chinny dude. Mandel Nalo's really never been chinned like that. Like he has been multiple times. Ilya's done him over too. I just think the more aggressive style of Nalo is favorable to win in his home country. Maybe even get a finish. I think if he can connect with the right shot on Jai Herbert, he can put him out. I like Mandel Nalo. And he did a podcast with Sam Hyde, which is a good way for me to like you. He's pretty based. He can take a joke, as seen by hanging out with Sam Hyde. I like him. I hope the best for him. I'm gonna go Mandel Nalo. Do I go KO? That's the real question. Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna say KO. I'm gonna say Mandel Nalo, second round KO. He chins Jai Herbert.
We are in the lightweight division. I believe this is the feature fight of the night. Let me double check that. It is the. Why is it not letting me see the feature fight? All right, well, that's stuck there. Yeah, no, it is the feature fight. Yeah, this is the feature fight. Mandel Nalo, UFC debut, 14-3. Definition of a killer be killed fighter. 8 knockouts, 6 subs. Guys never been the distance. Jai Herbert, he was decent in Cage Warriors, 13-6-1, Black Country Banger. Yeah, he was decent in Cage Warriors, and he came to the UFC, and I'm not gonna lie, they kind of fed him to the wolves. Gave him Renato Moicano in his second fight. Gave him Ilia Topuria in his fourth fight. I mean, Faris Yam, he's been in the cage with. Had to draw a Ludovic Klein. Fought Chris Padilla, could have arguably won the fight. It was a split. Like, Jai Herbert's been in there with a lot of tough guys. I do think he's a very good striker for lightweight. Pure striking, pure technique, and just like what he has to offer. Rangy, 6'1", 77 reach at lightweight. His power isn't great, but he does have knockouts. Out of his 13 wins, 9 are by knockout. Very technical striking. Trains a Team Renegade with the likes of like a Leon Edwards. And he hit like a Leon Edwards type kick on Ilia Topuria when they fought. And to this day, that's the most I've ever seen Ilia Topuria hurt in the UFC octagon. So I do think Jai Herbert is a good striker. Mandel Nalo, like I said, killer be killed. Durability, I suppose I'd give the advantage to Mandel Nalo. They're both about the same age. They're both over the age of 35. Jai Herbert's been knocked out 3 times in the first round by Reese McKee. In the second round, I believe, to Ilia Topuria, and the third round to Francisco Trinaldo. So he's been knocked out in all 3 rounds before. Mandel Nalo, most of his losses occur outside of the first round. He's been leg kick TKO'd in the third on the regional scene. He's been TKO'd in the second, and he's been rear naked choked in the third. So I think the longer the fight goes, it would be in favor of Jai Herbert because he's been the distance 5 times in his career where Mandel Nalo has never. I like a lot that Mandel Nalo trains at TriStar with Faris Yavi as his coach. I think that's going to help him a lot in this matchup. I They always tend to have decent game plans. You look at what Eamon Zahabi's been able to accomplish. I think TriStar is a very good gym for Canada. It's a tough fight. I think the longer it goes, it favors Jai Herbert. He's been more proven at a UFC level to go the distance. Mandel Nalo, you are kind of having to pick him at the early finish, I feel. But the range, the coaching, catching Jai Herbert, on the older side, I think it's a tough fight. But I'm torn, but I am going to go Mandel Nalo. I'm torn between TKO and sub. But the more I think about it, I kind of want to go sub, and I'm going to tell you why. I think Jai Herbert's a very good striker. He's only been knocked out by Tapuria, Reese McKee in the first round, which isn't great. But he's fought in the heavier weight classes. And Francisco Trinaldo, he's got a powerful punch. Mandel Nalo is very sharp. He is very accurate. I could definitely see him knocking out Jai Herbert. But he has 6 submissions, and I feel like Jai Herbert's grappling is kind of untested to an extent. A lot of people seem to want to strike with him, but in the times that he does grapple, he had subbed. He's been subbed by Moicano, and nobody else has really tried to approach him like that. I think Nalo can club and sub him. I think he can get a takedown, take away the striking of Jai Herbert. Most UK fighters, their best base is striking. I don't think Jai Herbert wants to grapple. I feel like all the grappling upside would be Mandel Nalo, and training with the likes of Faris Diaby, I feel like they will mix that into the game plan. I feel like they'll try to eliminate kicking range. They'll try to pressure with the boxing. I'm going to go Mandel Nalo by... I'll go... He's been finished in all 3 rounds. He's rangy. I'll go first round club and sub Mandel Nalo. I think he's going to hurt Jai Herbert on the feet and then get the submission, or he's going to shoot a takedown, advance position, and get the submission. I'm going to go first round submission at Mandel Nalo. Good fight.
All righty, moving on. We got the co-main event of the evening. Honestly, it's the people's main event, in my opinion. You got Kyler Phillips taking on Charles Jourdain. I'm going to go with Charles Jourdain here. He's looked really good ever since he moved down to bantamweight. Kyler Phillips is a very tough opponent, I think, for him. This is definitely going to be a scrap, man. I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight for sure. This is for sure a killer be killed fight. Either Kyler Phillips is going to get him out in the first, or Jourdain's going to get him out in the second or third. I'm going to go with a Charles Jourdain late second round finish. I think he's going to get him out of there. I think it's just the cardio for Kyler Phillips is not the best, and I think Charles Jourdain is very, very. He looks very good. He looks very good in this weight class, and I'm pretty pumped on what this fight's going to look like. I think this is my prediction for fight of the night for sure. I think it's going to be a scrap.
Yeah, I think Jourdain, he's another one of those Canadians that are just actually good. We were talking about a lot of bummy Canadians until we talked about Mandel Nalo. Charles Jourdain is actually, I feel like, a valid Canadian male fighter. Ever since going to bantamweight, he's looked the best he's ever looked. He's got a really nasty guillotine. Against Kyler Phillips, makes the prediction pretty easily. Kyler Phillips is pretty ass outside of the first round. I'm sure he will win the first round, but just Jourdain, I feel like he's grittier. He bites down on the mouthpiece more often than Kyler Phillips does. If this fight goes out of the first round, which I assume it will, I have to pick Jourdain. I feel like it really just lies in Kyler Phillips more than it even does Jourdain. Kyler Phillips ain't going to be here for 15 minutes. He's going to be here for 5, probably win that 5, and then lose the other 10. And I just can't predict a fighter like that to win against anybody like his own age or similar skill level. Like that'll work against, like Pedro Munoz on the come up. It ain't going to work against Charles Jourdain or other guys that are on the rise. Charles Jourdain's been in the UFC for a while, had a lot of ups and downs, but he seems like he finally found his flow at bantamweight. Brutally finished Davy Grant. I know Davy Grant's losing a couple steps, but nobody's doing that to him. I got Charles Jourdain. I want to go finish. But that at the same time, I feel like, people beat Kyler Jordan. Oh my goodness. Kyler Phillips. But they don't really finish him despite him gassing out. He uses like just enough energy to not get KO'd after he gasses out. So I'm going to say Jourdain by decision, just being more active in the second, third round, slamming body kicks, getting in his face, mixing in the grappling on a gassed out Kyler Phillips. I really think Kyler Phillips is mid. Not a whole lot to say outside of that. I think Charles Jourdain's pretty good. I'm going to say Jourdain. I could see a guillotine, but I'm going to say decision.
Co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division, you have Canada's Charles Air Jourdain going up against Kyler Phillips. Exciting matchup in this one, probably aside from the main event, the most exciting fight on the card. You can make the case. Charles Jourdain, 17-8-1. Majority of those losses occurred in the featherweight division. At bantamweight, he seems to have reinvented himself. Still fairly young in the sport, 30 years old, despite having 25-plus pro fights, going up against Kyler Phillips, who's 12-4, 30 years old as well. Both guys have experienced UFC caliber matchups. You look at who Kyler Phillips is losing to. It's Vinicius Oliveira, Rob Font, Raulian Paiva, Victor Henry. He's never been finished, but that being said, I do feel like Kyler Phillips is a bit of a first-round fighter. He really does only seem to have like about a round and a half, roughly, if I'm being generous, amount of cardio. If he's not able to impose his game, get his rhythm going, he seems to fatigue and fade as the fight progresses. As for Charles Jourdain, he also seems to struggle in scenarios that go to decision. He only has 2 decision wins out of his 17 wins and multiple decision losses in his career. Most of those did occur in the featherweight division, but nonetheless, I do feel as though Charles Jourdain is a finisher first fighter. 8 knockouts, 7 subs out of his 17 wins. That's 15 finishes. And he has 6 decision losses. He's only been knocked out the one time to Gene Silva, and he's only been subbed the one time against Julian Erosa. Kyler Phillips does have finishing potential, but I think it dwindles very much dramatically after round 1. I think this fight being in Canada is good for Jourdain. I think moving to bantamweight was the right decision. Kyler Phillips, based on statistics, I'll be generous. I will say he wins the first round, but if he doesn't finish Jourdain in the first round, I think he still can lose the fight. I'm going to go Charles Jourdain. Both guys' cardio isn't great, but I think Kyler's is visibly worse. So for that reason, I think Jourdain is going to get the first finish against Kyler Phillips in his career. Kyler Phillips, all 4 of his pro losses are by decision. I do understand he is going against tough guys like Oliveira and Rob Font, who definitely have the technique capable to find the KO shots to finish Kyler Phillips. But I think Jourdain, I think his gas tank will be enough to be better than Kyler Phillips. So I'll go third round TKO. I think Kyler wins round 1. I think Charles wins round 2. I think it's 1-1 going into round 3. I think the body language is going to be visibly different between the two of them. And I think Charles Jourdain is going to feel like he's down arguably 2-0. He'll fight with that caliber of intensity, even though he's 1-1 going into round 3. I'm going to go third round TKO, Charles Jourdain. Body shot.
Alrighty, moving on. We got the main event of the evening. Gilbert Durinho Burns taking on proper Mike Mallott. I really want to pick Gilbert Burns. I really do. I really don't like Mike Mallott. I think he's shit. I think he's dog shit. He is complete dog shit. But I'm going to have to go with him here. I think the age on Gilbert, if this was a 35-year-old Gilbert Burns that was like first round subbing Neil Magny, like if it was that Gilbert Burns or if it was the Gilbert Burns that was on his run in welterweight, the early days, I would have definitely picked him to finish Mike Mallott. But right now he's unfortunately on the decline, man. He hasn't looked the same. He's kind of been less durable. I mean, we kind of known him as like he isn't really too durable in his fights, but now I don't even think he could take a punch properly anymore. and that's the unfortunate part. I am going to go with Mike Mallott, first round TKO. I think it's going to be the end of Gilbert Burns, unfortunately. I do hope that I'm wrong. I do hope Gilbert gets the W here. I like Gilbert. I really do. But I think it's just the age, man. He just doesn't look the same. You could make, for people that are picking Gilbert, you could say, look at who he's fought. He's losing to Michael Morales, losing to Sean Brady, losing to Bilal, losing to JDM. Like, those are good names, top level welterweights. I get that, but I just can't. I can't see it, man. I hope he does pull it off, though. I do hope he pulls off the upset in Canada, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I'm going to go with Mike Mallott, first round KO. I think this is the end of Gilbert Burns, unfortunately.
You know, there is a world where Burns flukes this, as Mike kind of alluded to. There is a world where that happens. Mike Mallett's proven that he can be fluked. He's not really a prospect at this point. He's 34. Any 34-year-old prospect, like at that point, like Diddy vibes, like you're 34, gang. You ain't a prospect. Stop trying to mix in with all these kids. You know, Mike Mallett, at this point, you're a guy in the UFC that's been here for a few years. You're middle-aged. Now's the time to get going. You can't bitch out now. You know, you bitched out against Magny. You can't bitch out against your second-ranked opponent. You know, you're getting Gilbert Burns at the absolute easiest time to fight Gilbert Burns. He's got no chin. He doesn't seem like he really wants to throw down how he used to. He doesn't really bang. And, you know, Gilbert Burns was one of those guys. It's like, you know, I could see him getting more submissions if he actually grappled more. He's a great grappler, but he just seems to not want to. You know, I'll give him grace in certain matchups. Like maybe Sean Brady's just more in his prime and a better grappler. Michael Morales might just be, you know, the next champion or a contender for the belt. Super good finisher, long, tall. You know, but Mike Mallett's not any of those things. Mike Mallett's a bum. You know, he's fought at featherweight and got knocked out by Hakeem Dawodu. All these things are true. That being said, I still have to pick Mike Mallett just because, like, this is the fight that they lined up for him in Canada to get a main event. Like, honestly, I would have no problem just playing like Fortnite and Ghost of Yote this weekend on Saturday and not having to watch a UFC card. Honestly, like, we don't need all these UFC cards and let's just stack a bunch of fucking goy slop and let the goy eat it up. Like, nah, man. Like, at some point you throw up from all the McDonald's you eat. Like, I'm tired of this shit. This shit's ass. This is a terrible main event on a terrible card. Winnipeg should like fucking, I don't know what they should do. They should do some criminal shit, you know, like start acting like the IRA. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, this is war crimes what they're doing in Winnipeg right now. This is like, I mean, this is bad. Mike Mallett main event. Throw Neil Magny on the card, and you got like closest thing to 9/11 since then. Like, it's bad. But Mike Mallett, he's got power in his hand. He's got quick hands. I actually do rate KOing Charles Radke in a boxing fight. Radke's a great boxer, great power. I just think, you know, you have those things at this point against Gilbert Burns. He's got a grappling base. He's got power. He's got speed. I trust him to probably clip and put away Burns in the first 2 rounds. It's all just about Burns being washed. It's nothing about Mallett. I've spent more time ranting about how Mallett's not good rather than Burns. Burns is just washed, and there's nothing else to it. You know, the times of Burns scrapping it out with Hamzat and fucking dominating former champions, that's all gone. He's now 39 with no chin. You know, if he grapples, maybe he breaks Mallett in a similar way Magny did, but I don't see him getting to a 3rd round the same way Magny did. I'm going to say Mike Mallett, end of the 1st round, KO.
Main event of the evening in Winnipeg, Canada's face of their MMA scene, Mike Mallott, proper Mike Mallott, going up against Gilbert Durino Burns. Obviously, Gilbert Burns has been on a decline, but in his defense, I mean, he is going against the best of the best in the weight class. He's going against Michael Morales. He's going against Sean Brady, JDM. I mean, the list goes on and on. This guy's been against Prime Hamzat. Like, Bilal Muhammad, like on his run of the title, he literally has fought the best of the best. So in terms of experience, no question, it's in favor of Gilbert Burns. I would venture to say he's the better grappler overall, given his credentials. I will say Mallott does seem to have a grappling game of his own, but just on credentials and pedigree, you'd have to go with Burns. Burns, his 4 knockout losses, they're all comparable fighters. Kamaru Usman, Michael Morales, Dan Hooker at lightweights, and he also lost to, forget the other one, JDM, Morales, Dan Hooker, and somebody else. Well, that's not important. Going into this matchup, there's a significant age advantage in favor of Mike Mallott. Like Alex said, this matchup is very much set up for Mike Mallott to get within the top 10. For what it's worth, his last 2 wins are actually aging better. The Charles Radke wins aging better. He looked good in his last performance. And Kevin Holland looked good in his last performance. But as someone who picked Mike Mallott in that last fight against Kevin Holland, I was very worried. He needed to kick him in the groin because on the feet it was looking very grim for Mike Mallott in that one. But Gilbert Burns, I don't think has the same things that Neil Magny, Akeem Dawodu, and Kevin Holland had in their own different ways. Mike Mallott's 2 pro losses are by TKO to Neil Magny and Akeem Dawodu. He fought at featherweight in World Series of Fighting, which is now PFL. He lost his debut there to Akeem Dawodu. Dawodu was just too fast and too accurate on the feet. Caught him. If this was Burns like 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't mind picking him to do the same thing. Just go in there and just put caution to the wind and just try to knock him out. But Burns is looking older these days. I question his durability. The older he gets, obviously, naturally, that's what's supposed to occur. If this fight hits the ground, we'll see what happens. Mallott's never been subbed. Neither is Burns. Both guys have been knocked out before. So I will say I feel like Mallott is unproven in a 5-round setting. We've never seen him really push like a hectic pace in 3 rounds or more. Burns, we've seen go the distance, whether he was losing. Still, he was able to show grit and toughness. I mean, the caliber of guys that put him away, like on the feet, you wouldn't think Mallott's like that, but he found a way to knock out Charles Radke, who I think is better than him on the feet. So it's just crazy how MMA works like that. Enough of my yapping. I'm going to go Mike Mallott. I'm going to go by early finish. I feel like that's kind of what he has to do. He has to look the part here because he's like near minus 600. It's stupid what this betting line is now. Absolute disrespect for Gilbert Burns. My only takeaway is that they must know he's like old, like milk, like he's past his prime. And Mallott, for what it's worth, he does go for it. He does take risks. I feel like against a slower, older Burns, he'll be able to get away with those risks. This is a fight that he needs to have. This is a career-defining win he needs to have any form of marketability in this division. So if he fumbles this one, don't want to say career is over, but our perception of you as a contender is over. So I think the pressure's on. This is his event. He's the main event. Give me Mike Mallott by Morales got him in the first. I think Dan Hooker got him in the first, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Dan Hooker TKO'd him in the what round? In the first round. And Kamaru Usman TKO'd him in the third round. And JDM TKO'd him in the third round. So I'll go in the middle. I'll go second round TKO Mike Mallott. I feel like he needs to absolutely throw respect out the window. Don't try to grapple him. I feel like that's an area where Burns maybe might have an advantage on the jiu-jitsu. But athletically, speed, power, youth, even durability, I suppose right now I'd say it's in favor of Mike Mallott. So I'll go second round TKO Mike Mallott because he needs to win that way. If he doesn't TKO him in the first 2 rounds, the fight can get very interesting and Burns could even be live.
All right, I think that will do it for our UFC Winnipeg predictions. Should I say the Canadian 9/11? But hopefully, with the UFC cards are going to be picking up after this. The next Apex card, I honestly think Yusuf Zalal Aljo is a better card than this is. Main event's more interesting, and I think the card overall is just better. UFC's got to get their shit together. They can't give slop fucking live events. Like we're all against the Apex anyway, but if the Apex is going to be around, that's where you put the slop. You don't put it in fucking live events. And like at this point, like I feel bad for Canada. You know, there's a lot of Canadians that are pretty based and they're fucking struggling right now. Like they're trying to watch the slop. And Australia's getting it relatively good right now. They've had bad events too, but they're getting a good one. Yeah, they just got to put it in together. At some point, you just say, fuck it. We're not putting Canadians on the card. We're just making good cards. We'll try to put good Canadians on, I guess. And that's it. You know, fuck it. We had Strickland and DDP main event, a Canadian event once. So, you want to know why? Because they're ballad fighters and not fucking Canadian males. So, yeah, that's my rant to end this off. Canada, get your shit together. UFC, get your shit together. Paramount, get your shit together. Yeah. Peace.